I've decided to extend International Essence Awareness Week for another few days and bring Rosanna on the line. Rosana Souto is a colleague of mine, a lovely lady and a wonderful teacher, and she uses flower essences in Curitiba, Brazil, to in the fields of education, and she's going to talk to us a little bit about that today. Rosanna, are you there?
Yes, I am, my dear.
Well,
can you listen?
Yes, go ahead.
Yes. Okay, can you hear to me?
Yes, I can hear you just fine.
Okay, it's a pleasure to be talking to you today to spread a little bit of what we do in Brazil with flower essences. It's a great pleasure to speak to your public. Thank you.
Oh, it's a pleasure being able to talk to you. It's my excuse to be able to have a little natter with you on the phone. But I'd like to give a little bit of background about Rosanna and what she does and how I met her. I was actually writing my thesis for my master's degree, and I came across her work as she was writing about a case study of the work that she does in Brazil with disadvantaged children with learning difficulties. I was so impressed by what I read that when she did a course here in the UK, a workshop a few years ago, I made sure I was able to attend, and that was the beginning of what I think is a great friendship. So it's a pleasure to have you on the air, and now I'm going to turn it over to you and tell us a little bit about the work that you do with regard to education and flower essences.
Well, Mystery, I don't know how I came to work with flower essence with education. I do believe I had a good start with a lady that once I attended. She was an education psychologist, and after attending her, she started to forward her most critical children for me to help with flower essences. And so this was my start working in education. I believe I need to say that I was an engineer, a chemical engineer in my past, and I had fallen in love with flower essences, and so I quit my career.
Well, that's a huge career change. That's almost like me in a sense. I was in banking for many years before I became a therapist, and particularly a flower essence practitioner. It seems a bit of a strange path to take from something so technical to something that's really quite spiritual. But as they say in Brazil, there's an expression: Deus escreve certo de linhas tortas. God writes straight with crooked lines. So I guess we're both where we need to be.
Yes, because this is very true, and I found it to be very true because as a chemical engineer, I understand flower essences as a very advanced product that, for me, they are high technology, a modern technology, because it's based on the ability water has to store information. And for me, it's wonderful that we can work with children, impressing them with a higher energy of love and courage. And it's a very simple way to inspire them in their needs. Okay?
Yes, absolutely. But I'd like to pick up on a particular point before we have a little break and have a little bit of music. And that is that there's been a recent study that has been done around working with children and flower essences. I believe that was done in Brazil. Is that correct?
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about the results of that study.
Oh, wow. Last year, I had applied the flower essence at a school with 75 children and in spray, and the results were fantastic in reducing bullying and increasing harmony among peers, and it was very, very successful. Something Yes, something different than what I had at Núcleo Mãe Maria that I need to talk to, but later, okay?
No,
So,
that's fine. I mean, it's a quite fantastic news. I had done a small pilot study myself on flower essences and stress, and we saw about a 73 success rate with reducing people's stress. And I'm sure there are probably similar or even better results with children because they absorb essences so easily.
yes, for sure, for sure.
I'd like you to talk a little bit more about Núcleo Mãe Maria, the social program that you work with using essences with the children there. What is that about?
Well, after having a great experience already in my private clinic, I decided to spread this contingent of children, and I tried to benefit more children. And so I ended up doing this social work. I was invited to run this social work. And fortunately, this center has an education area and a health area. And I was forward to the education area where children are forward by the local school to have school reinforcement. This was in 1998, and at that time, this community was very violent, a poor community and a very violent community, and flower essences came as a balm for them, because many of my children suffered of much fear, much fear, which ended up having some disturbance for them. Some of them used to pee at night too.
Yep.
But the amount of fear was so intense that they could hardly listen to an helicopter without hiding themselves, because the community was many times invaded by policemen in search for traffic dealers. And so flower essences have become to be very popular. The children have responded to them very quickly and with deep changes. And some of the changes you know because you've heard my articles on in Calix, the International Journal of Flower Essences.
Yes,
you know?
that's right. It was, in fact, this particular case study that Rosanna wrote about that was so impressive to me. And then one of the things that you said about using flower essences is that flower essences act as a kind of emotional tuning fork when the children are out of tune. And as a musician, I really respond to that and understand that. And that's what essences are for me. They're a tuning fork that issues a true note when we become out of balance and our own vibration becomes a bit wacky. And in this particular case study, the young boy that was being worked with actually became a young established artist in Brazil, and all of his work is labeled felicidade, happiness, which shows which is his expression of what the essences have actually done for him in his life. So yes, it's wonderful to hear that of the work that's being done in Brazil around flower essences. But why do you think they're so popular in Brazil, Rosanna? Why are essences so popular?
Well, I believe the nature of our people too, and the need of our people, because as you know, in Brazil we have a great social imbalance, and flower essences, when entered Brazil, we couldn't buy the kits, the sets. They were very expensive, and so only a few therapists could afford to buy the kit.
Right.
And our health system is rather difficult here. And so flower essences started to reach the poor people, the poor part of Brazil, and those who could pay. So we had social institutions and the private clinic, but in a way of reducing suffering and being able to help these people who suffered more. I couldn't only have good results in my private clinic. I needed to share these results with those who suffered more. Mm-hmm. Okay?
Right.
And it's very interesting that you remembered me what I said in Calix, because I have come from a family of musicians, and every time I made a prescription or I select essences, I really think that I'm composing a song that will help my client to get into tune.
Now, Rosanna, you had said that there were a couple of points you wanted to make about the growth of the use of essences in Brazil. We know that the growth of, or the explosion of use in Brazil and Latin America in general with essences has mostly been economic as a result. Cuba issues them on their national health service. Can you believe that? Flower essences and other complementary and alternative therapies, which they call medical specialties in Cuba, are actually on their national health service. But tell us about what's happening in Brazil and how the use of essences is starting to really reach out further and further into society.
Yes, this was a result of the many social initiatives that we have in Brazil. And so people wanted to assess them also at the health units, the public health units. And for instance, the work at Núcleo Mãe Maria has inspired many other initiatives in education, even at schools. The service at Núcleo Mãe Maria, it's still there, and it's a top service in flower essence therapy. But there we attend the children individually, and they have we have donations from many essence producers, and the service is now considered to be very an inspiration. Okay, but because of the many social initiatives, we are and the pressure of the people, and the demand of the people for a natural way of addressing their needs.
We've been talking about how flower essences are being used in education and why they're so popular in Brazil. But Rosanna, you've also mentioned that things are expanding, that the use of essences is causing changes in laws, is causing changes in behavior, and also being expanded in its use and its applications, including with, I believe, another colleague of ours is working with kidney transplant patients. So tell us about the development of essence use in Brazil and in general.
Wow, it's spread everywhere. And because of the demand of the people, we are having laws, and to include the flower essence officially at public health units and schools. And we have many initiatives, research initiatives. One of them is the one run by Thalita Lazuri at a public hospital, University Hospital of the University of São Paulo, to address kidney post-transplanted patients. And we have talked about 2 years ago at the gathering of the British Flower and Vibrational Essences Association. And the results are fantastic because Thalita uses a device to scan the bioenergy
energy, yes,
fields. And so we can see the actuation of flower essences on these bioelectrical fields. And it's very, very interesting, the results. And because of this, we are having a great demand for research work, not only for medical purposes, but also in education. And in some provinces in Brazil, we have already many health unities, public health unities that are using flower essences to address their people and to offer a better quality of life. Another branch, and that is being increasing, is the use for autistic children, and we are unfortunately, the number of autistic children in our country, and I believe in the whole world, is increasing too much without a definite cause. We still don't know why, but flower essences are being something like hope, and because of the results. And so we now have many initiatives to address elderly people, animals, children, and this research in particular with Saint Germain flower essences. They are conducting a lot of research to evidence the power of flower essences for our well-being.
Well, it's not just in Brazil. As I mentioned earlier, that flower essences are issued on the National Health Service in Cuba. In Australia and New Zealand, they're allowed to do things that we're not even allowed to do here in the UK, and that is to actually make medical claims about the impact of essences on individuals, something that's not allowed by law here, but they're used in hospitals and other places in Brazil, Australia rather, as a regular part of treatment. And in the World Health Organization even thinks they're a good idea, as they have said not too long ago that they would consider using flower essences as adjuncts to programs that they run. So there really is something in the water. Now, Rosanna, we've been talking about flower essence use in education and even kidney transplants and other areas in Brazil. There's expanding use in hospitals and schools. But I'd like to talk a little bit about the international contacts you've been making with regard to flower essences, including contact with the Minister for Education from Jamaica, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, this was nice, and this was last year at the European Network for Social and Emotional Competence Conference that was held in Portugal, in Lisbon. And I was there to spread the use of flower essence in education, and also a project I have run in Brazil with an art therapist to teach flower essence to children. And this project has revealed itself as a way to teach children how they feel. So it's a project that promotes emotional education. And when I was in a short season in England, I discovered this European network and ZEC, and has discovered also that the academic world doesn't know anything about the use of flower essence in education. So I have become a member of the INZEC, and last year I was accepted to do 2 speeches at the conference, a poster about the project and a workshop about the use of flower essences. And despite the few that has attended, because it's academic world, I had a lady from Jamaica that, she literally made my travel to Portugal, because Miss Heather, she's a school assistant. She is the assistant of the Minister of Education for Special Education in Jamaica. And as you may know, Jamaica has a tradition in natural medicine, but she didn't know about the remedies, and she ended up saying to me that I had brought her hope in the future of her country and hope for the children too. Okay.
Well, we're going to have to talk off air about that, because that may be something where a project that I personally would like to get involved in, particularly as some of the essences that I myself produce are actually made in Jamaica. So it's something that perhaps find out some way of doing some research or some kind of project in Jamaica around flower essences and vibrational medicine in general. There is good evidence, as you were saying, of working with autistic children, as well as others with learning disabilities or kind of social kind of related issues in their lives, like the children that you work with at the Nucleo Mai Maria. But just to kind of close all of this, because there's so much information that you could provide, but one of the things I want you to get out there is that you will be coming to the UK once more to do a workshop, and her workshops are fantastic, and if I'm available, I'm certainly going to attend, because Rosanna has just a wonderful way of making essences come alive to people in simple ways that you really just get it, even if you've never had anything to do with essences before. So tell us a little bit about the workshops that you'll be running in October, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, it will be on the 8th and 9th of October in Reading. And it will be about Saint Germain flower essences. But before, I will share the results of the research done at the school here in Curitiba with the use of flower essences in sprays. Because this was even new for me, because since I have mostly attended children individually, but we needed some way to include flower essences at schools, in a simple way to include flower essence at schools. And so I have decided to try how efficient flower essence could be when used in sprays to address peers. Okay? So I'll be sharing this in October in Reading, and soon you will find information both at Saint Germain Flower Essences website and Lady of Reiki and Aroma website too in England. Okay.
Yes, and would it be on the BFVEA site as well?
I believe so, because it will come in the next magazine.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay.
Well, I think we're going to have to wrap it up here, but it's been a lovely time catching up with you. I said, enjoying your sunshine, even though we don't have any here at the moment, and was really looking forward to that workshop in October to find out more about the research being done in Brazil around flower essences and education. And if you'd like more information, you can always call me here at the studio at 07398 940 487, or you can go to the British Flower and Vibrational Essences Association website at bfvea.com and get more information. Rosanna, thank you so much for calling. It's been a pleasure talking to you. We could have talked for hours, I know, but I think we got the most important bits out.
So thank you, Mystery, for this opportunity to spread a little bit of our dear flower essences. Okay, thank you so much.
Oh, my
Thank you for your
pleasure.
public.
Thank you for taking the time to speak with us.